I don't really think that I can be the one to tell you this because this is kind of like a default for literally millions and millions of people right now. But this last few days have been pretty hard. What a surprise. Yesterday at work. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. By the way, this is not relevant to what I'm actually wanting to talk about completely. I'm just gonna. Sorry if you hear some weird noises. Trying to adjust some cords here. I'm just gonna make videos again, but it's just gonna be me talking like this. I mean, maybe on occasion I'll like make a scripted one or something, but I think just me talking, me saying whatever's on my mind is going to be at least in some form therapeutic for me, and I've heard that I have a nice voice to listen to, so maybe this will be calming for some of you. Um, there isn't really too much I can say about the current goings on right now in the country. We all know the political climate is completely fucked, and most of you probably know now there's all those riots and, well, not actually riots, sorry, protests in big cities. Some people are calling them riots just because that's what they do, but there's the protests in big cities, and there's all this talk about how the Electoral College hasn't technically voted yet, and once again, calling it into question whether or not it should even be a thing. I don't think it should anymore. I think it was a good system during the early days of the country, but that was literally over 200 years ago. It's not relevant anymore. Because, Hillary won the popular vote, but Donald Trump won the Electoral College, at least for now, until the Electoral College actually does their voting on the 19th of December, and you can, try and petition your state to focus on the fact that the popular vote was not won by Donald Trump and therefore not give him the electoral votes. I don't fucking... Whatever, man. All this shit's going on, and I'm just sitting over here thinking, yesterday I went to work. Okay, yesterday my shift started at 11:30 a.m., just like it does every day. I woke up at 11:05. It takes me a minimum of 10 minutes to get to work in literally perfect traffic with no red lights. I had such a hard time just getting out of fucking bed yesterday after I made the last video, after I made the video called Fear. It was hard, but I did it. I rolled out of bed, I threw on some clothes, I stopped by a drive-through Starbucks on the way to work and got some coffee and walked in, clocked in, almost late. I was... At my job, you can be up to 7 minutes past your shift starting to clock in before you're considered late, and I made it at 6 minutes past, so I wasn't technically late. And I walk into my little tool rental center in the far southern corner of this Home Depot, and I find only one guy's there, and normally when I get there, there's 2 or 3 at that hour, right? And I asked him, where'd everyone else go? He said the moment he arrived, the other guy who was there, our opener, left. Now, I don't blame Jim for leaving. Jim is... I don't know how old he is. I think he's like late 60s, mid-late 60s, something like that. I don't blame him for ditching 2 hours into his shift that day in particular, because I don't think he wanted to face any political discourse, which thankfully there wasn't much. But one guy when I got there is a native from an Alabama native, and was basically told me he spent the entire shift just doing his goddamn job and ignoring everything else that was going on, which, considering his point of origin, I don't blame him for that. He's in Seattle, and he's from the deep south. Like, he's got one of the thick southern drawls, right? A few hours after that, our closer shows up at 12:30. Sorry, an hour after I arrive, our closer shows up. His shift was from 12:30 to 9. And that's my boss, Alex, my direct supervisor of the department, guy who runs it. And when he walked in, the first thing he did was look at me and say, "Holy shit, you look awful." Now, Alex and I get along really well, and we've got a lot of similar, our sense of humor is very similar, and our ideals are fairly similar, because he's only 2 years older than me, and he's incredibly accomplished, at least in this retail corporation, right? And he realized pretty quickly what I was feeling, and he was not in much better of a position, not much better of a place, right? But his sense of disappointment paled in comparison to my fear, and I made sure to tell him that pretty early on into the, the 7 hours of shift that we shared, right? And he's just like, all right, I get it. So then he proceeded to, as soon as the guy who was there when I arrived left at 4:30, Alex did like nothing but crack silly jokes and play his music really loud because, I don't know, I think he was trying to help me feel better, or at least try and distract me, and he did a pretty good job. We had maybe a combined total of no more than 15 people in the entirety of my 8-hour shift walk into our tool rental, which Wednesdays are typically pretty chill, but they're never that fucking chill. Ever. Like, never, ever, ever. So we just spent the entire, that whole time just fucking around, because what else were we gonna do? And I went home that night. My mom called me and asked, because, she watches my videos sometimes. Hi, Mom. What's up? She watched Fear, and she wanted to talk about that, and also wanted my permission to use a roll of purple yarn that was sitting in my dresser back in her house that was reserved for me to use, but it would be perfect for something she's working on, so she wanted to know if she could use it, which is adorable, right? But the conversation that I had with my folks wasn't easy. Part of the reason I had to move away from them was because our personal ideals don't really match up, and that correlates pretty closely to our political ideologies. My dad is pretty conservative. Not like super conservative, but, enough. My mom falls under the category, the well-documented category of the white moderate. One of the folks who justifiably has been saying things like, don't fight hatred with hate, and that, that kind of stuff. Just remember to love everyone and all those kinds of things. And I appreciate her sentiment, and I appreciate my dad's sentiment in trying to justify that there's some good in the results of this election, but really, my anger and my fear are completely legitimate. I fall under those at least one of those marginalized groups that is now just terrified to even live in this country. What I'm trying to get at from this video, by the way, is just that I got up the day after the election. I got up on November 9th, and I went to work. I did my job for what little amount I actually had to do that day. I went home. I had another political conversation with someone else. I played a lot of video games. I watched some YouTube videos. I put on some music, and I went to bed. The 9th of November was not the end of the world. And today, the 10th of November, although as I'm recording this, it's actually the 11th. It's Friday morning at 1:45. But the 10th of November, it's done. It's over. I'm alive. So are you. There's a lot of goddamn motherfucking fear right now pervading everything in this country. I mean, for God's sake, I've even some Trump supporters are afraid that they're going to get assaulted. Like, it's a stupid fear, but it's still fear. Everything right now in this country is being dictated by fear. For once in the history of the United States, money isn't keeping everything rolling as far as like current events are going. It's fear. It's terror. It's anger. It's hatred. It's emotions. Everything is base now. But we're still going. We're still alive. Today, the 10th of November, Thursday, I got up and woke up, picked up my tablet, played that one mobile game that I play nearly nonstop when I'm not working or on my computer. It's called Brave Frontier, by the way. If you play that, you should let me know so I can add you, because Brave Frontier is awesome. It's a great game. But played that for maybe 20, 30 minutes. Sat it down. Sat up. Looked out my window, and the sun was shining. Clear blue sky. Not something that I guess is very common in Seattle this time of year, so I figured I should savor this. I should do something today. What should I do today? So, I stood up, I put on a pair of pants and a shirt, just a t-shirt, whatever the hell. Sat down on my computer, turned it on, checked all the various social medias and found the same fear-mongering, same discourse, same blah, blah, blah. And then I took a look at my bank account and discovered that my first genuine full-time employment paycheck had been posted a day early. I'm guessing, isn't Friday Veterans Day? Friday or Saturday or something like that. One of those days this week is Veterans Day, so I'm guessing that's why my pay was posted a day early. I'm supposed to get paid every other Friday. I got paid Thursday this week for whatever reason. And seeing $850, I know it was like almost $900 dropped into my savings account gave me another one of those reminders that life is gonna go on. Shit might be hard, but it's not over. There's still things you can do. Still a life to live. I saw that money posted, my immediate thought was, okay, great, I can actually pay my rent somewhat on time this month for the first time in ages. So I grabbed my checkbook, write up a check, transfer the amount of money from my savings to my checking account, because I have direct deposit into savings, right? Write up a check for my rent money and all that stuff, and then I sit back and think, wait a minute. I have a lot of money. And I need to do something for me, because I haven't been able to do something like really for me specifically in a long time. And I feel like of all the times in my life, this past couple days, pretty damn good time to, as it is said, treat yourself, right? So I thought, what should I do? So I settled on the decision, I'm going to buy a new tablet, because my old one is starting to drive me insane. I'm going to buy a new keyboard, because my old one is starting to drive me insane. And I'm going to buy a new computer mouse, because my old one is driving me insane. That's pretty expensive. Spent about $450 today, not including the $500 I dished out for rent for the month. I spent a lot of money today, more than I actually brought in over the last 2 weeks, more than the paycheck earned me. Plus, I also resurrected my cell phone because its service ran out like a week ago, and I just haven't bothered fixing it. I'm not really sure anymore what the point of what I'm doing is. I just kind of want to talk. And I don't want to talk in the context of, commentary for a video game or like some kind of discussion of policy or some kind of talk of the future of this country and the world and where things stand. I just kind of want to talk. I don't really have too many people I can chat with here where I live. I've got my coworkers, which 99 times out of 100 is work-related conversation, which isn't very interesting. I've got my roommate Carson out there, who I enjoy talking with, but don't really have too much to talk about. I mean, he just, talks about Magic, like, all the time, which is fine. Magic the Gathering is cool. It's just not really my cup of tea, but, it's interesting. But I don't really have folks to talk to here. Like, my only conversation partners I really have are Alex, my boss, sometimes, and people who live at least several hundred miles away from me. So I guess YouTube is kind of my outlet. I'm not in a place right now where I can really have a conversation, but I still feel like I have things I need to say, and that's what I'm doing right now. As of this recording, the 5 of you who commented on the video entitled Fear, I I'm not even sure what I can say to any of you. I know some of y'all are confused, some are scared, some are just concerned, and some are just worried, and there's all sorts of negativity there that I can't address because I'm feeling the same shit and I got nothing. Consider this video my response to all of your comments. I'm not as good as I used to be at responding to every comment on my videos, but for that one anyway, maybe it's just not really a good place for me to try and do that. Camaraderie is going to be important over the next few years, and for, all the time beyond that, considering we have no idea what's going to happen next. This is about as unprecedented as, any major historical event has been. Well, I hope that if I've done nothing else today with this video, I've given you something to think about, something to focus on for 16, 17 minutes. If I have a soothing voice, a calming voice, I guess I should use that. I mean, I don't know. I've been using my voice a lot these past few years. I think it's kind of getting more mature, a little silkier, a little smoother. Getting a little Northern Lion-esque, which I love. Not as deep, because, he's literally 5 years older than me. No, 6? A large amount. A large enough amount of time that his is developed. But, if I can... I'm not going to say anything sappy. I don't want to... There's no point. Sappy stuff to me right now is vapid, because everyone's saying it, and I think if y'all know me well enough, you know that anything sappy I could say is genuine, but that's just not my style. I care. I'm worried. I want all of you to be safe, especially those of you who live in dangerous areas right now. I've heard a lot of accounts of physical assault and heckling and vandalism from all those fucking white people. For the record, I'm a white person, and I'm fully aware of that. I know what that means, and I know when to shut up. Try and find people, if you can, if you're able, who can be a safe space for you. Safe people. Safe place. And if you can't do that, I ask that you be very cautious. I can't say don't do anything stupid, because literally anything that anyone who falls under those particular groups, aka not white males, I can't say don't do anything stupid, because literally anything those people do could result in something terrible, but just don't give up. And, if you're thinking of moving out of the country, I would say wait a little while. Wait until the Electoral College comes to a decision, and then decide if you should or not. But it certainly wouldn't hurt to have that as a backup plan. I know personally next week, when I have my next weekday off, I am going to hopefully by then understand how to obtain an extended driver's license, which in Washington state is a driver's license, but it also lets you move freely in and out of Canada. So if I can get that, I might actually legitimately seriously consider trying to move somewhere else. Maybe I should just apply for a passport. It would be a bad idea. If any of you have any plans for moving out of the U.S., where are you going? I want to go there too. Anyway, it's been 20 minutes of me babbling. I can't keep this up for long. Apparently I can, but I should stop because I need to get sleep because I have to go to work tomorrow. I don't suspect there's going to be a lot to do. Anyway, I wish all of you the best. Stay safe, stay vigilant. Don't forget that it's not over yet. The fight isn't going to be over, ever. As long as people are different, inequality will exist. It's unavoidable. Perfect utopias can't be a thing, but I think maybe one day there will be like cultural dissidence, but all of that conflict won't result in violence or hatred. I hope we can get to that point as a species. Anyway, I'm done now. I'm going to stop talking. Good night. Or morning. Or whenever the hell you watch this. Pull a Truman here. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And also good morning. And good 1 a.m. chat.